Welcome back, lovelies. We're going to be doing a deep dive into the settings page of Paging Polly now. And we're going to go through each and every tab and give you a rundown of how everything works so that you will feel fully confident in how to use the settings in Paging Polly. So right off the get, if you go to settings, you're going to be met with the account tab first. This goes to your back-end WordPress settings page. So if you click this, it will open in a new tab. And this is where your license and all the onboarding was. And then this goes back to Paging Polly. These are feature flags. So this is showing where we are in Polly's development. Currently, the AI features are live. Formatting is coming next. Next up, we have the AI settings. So we go over this in your first project and generation. We also go over the API key section in setting up your OpenRouter API key. So this top part is your API key location. If you want to update your API key, for instance, if you burn your keys regularly, say monthly, you just go through and reset all of your keys, you would just put your new key here, save, and then you can test and refresh your models and you're good to go. Clicking this, by the way, shows you the plain text of the key that you just entered. And then it will always be hidden like so once it's been saved. Here you have your default model, so you can set whatever your favorite default is. Again, this is for testing purposes, so my default currently is Llama Maverick because it is free $99, and that is helpful when I'm doing a whole bunch of tests for you guys. Here you set your favorite models. So I have AI on 1, which is one of my favorite not safe for work models. We have Claude Sonnet 4.5, Haiku 4.5, Grok 4, Gemini 2.5 Pro, and GPT-5. If you wanted to, you can delete any of your favorites. You can also edit. So maybe you realize AI on is your favorite violence model or what have you. You can edit that. You can also do a custom label. Instead of doing one of the emoji labels, you can do something custom, action scenes, or perhaps you have something that is just your outlining model. You can have that custom label here. So then we can also do remove from favorites, and that will just remove that one. So we'll remove that and then we'll re-add Gemini, and I can do a search and it'll show me just Gemini favorite. You can pop your own, and if you save, that'll show that custom label says outlining, and it will have just the regular star so that you can have these tagged for whatever you use them for the most. Okay, and we don't need to do any saves anytime. I'm not sure what that is. It's probably because I clicked into here and I did not save. So it's like there wasn't an API key in there. Okay, so we are done with the AI settings. Again, there's no save. As soon as you change something, it saves. Go over to prompts. Now we're getting into the fun stuff. So prompts is your prompt library. So this is your full library of all of the prompts loaded. If you loaded your import prompts and import themes, then you should have a little over 30 in here, and you should have some favorites as well. If I wanted one of these to not be my favorite, maybe I never use fix. So I'm going to unfavorite that, and I'm going to unfavorite this. If I come back here and go to favorites, now there's just 2 pitches and go. 2 pitches is my favorite because this is the one I use the most for testing. So I'm actually going to turn that one off too. Okay, so we have all prompts. Here you can import. You can import via an XLSX. So there is a download template. So if you want to do a bulk import of prompts using our variables, make sure that the variables are entered correctly in the prompt. But you can do that where you can import as many prompts as you like via that bulk. I'll do a separate video on that. So then once that was saved, you would import this way. Import JSON. So we can export all. So this would export the entire library either as the XLSX or as the JSON. And then you can import one or all. It will not do duplicates. It will check to see if the same name is already in the library, and it will skip that for you. If you want to just export one, say to save and share with a friend, you can just do that here. And then you can also do edit or duplicate or delete from these cards. If you click the star, that becomes a favorite and adds to the favorite tag. You can also sort these either alphabetically, or you can sort them by the category. So the categories will be alphabetical and it will group those prompts together. You can also do the grid view, which is what we're looking at right now, or a list view. And this one is probably, I'm not sure why he's actually bigger than the rest of him. Oh, I think it might be because we have, I don't actually know why that is sticking to the top right now. That's a little bit of a glitch. Probably if I refresh, that would go away. So we can go in and edit. So let me do a edit. Actually, you know what? Let me just refresh really quick to see if that gets rid of, there we go. And if we go to list, there we go. So if that does happen to you, where one sticks to the top, if you do a refresh, that clears that up really quickly. Okay, so let's go in and edit one of these. So we'll edit our tester guy. So here is the edit prompt modal. This will look very similar. In fact, I am almost identical to the create prompt. So you will have the title. This is the prompt content. It will tell you what detected variables there are. If you want the variable helper, you can do the show variable helper. And these are all buttons. So you can see this one's outlined in green because this one is already existing in our prompt right there. And if we wanted to add another one, we can do so by putting our cursor where we want it, click the button, and there's active documents. And now that is also green. It will also say detected. If we want to remove that, we can just remove that, and then that updates. Here is our categories. You can have multiple categories for a prompt, as we have here, general and tester. And if you are ready to save, you can hit update prompt. If you do not want to update the prompt, you can hit cancel, and it will not save the changes you made. Let's go ahead and do a new prompt. So we can just do this as a test prompt. And actually, I think I have a PDF over here that we can grab. This is actually, I think, probably a pretty good one. Okay. Generate 20 paranormal romance story hooks that combine blank with blank. Make each hook one sentence. So this is a perfect area where we can do variables. So hooks that combine blank with blank. So we're going to have this be words before that combine this genre and this supernatural element. Okay, and then that's words before. Make each hook one sentence. So that's how you would use something that is a standardized prompt, and then you would switch it over to something that you would use in Polly. Let's see if I actually have one that would be good for active documents. You know what? This one would work for active documents. So really quickly, I'm just going to remove this. So based on this pitch, insert final pitch, brainstorm these 4 things. So insert final pitch is probably an active document. So we can have active documents be the final pitch, or even more similarly, what we might do is that would be a dossier. So we'd have, based on this pitch in the dossier, brainstorm these 4 things. And that's a really easy way to use these and adjust those prompts for Polly. Let's go over the editor context variables really quickly. If you're coming from Plot Drive, or I think RaptorWrite also has similar ones now, you will recognize probably 5 of these, which is active documents, words before, words after, selected, and instruction box. So active documents is all the documents that are toggled on in the library, and I'll show you that right after we close this. Words before is words before cursor. So if my cursor is right here, this is words before, this would be words after. And now I have this selected text, that would be selected text. Instruction box almost always goes with selected text, but you can use instruction box in other areas where you want to add an additional feedback. If you're using words before or words after, generally you could have your instructions in line with whatever you're prompting with in the document, but you might want it separate. You might not want that added in, so you can always use the instruction box in that case. Then we get into the ones that are unique to Polly, which is chapters, notes, characters, dossier, story bible, outline, and world build. There will also be an additional one called ideas very soon. So what this is this pulls all document files that are associated with a particular type. So chapters is all your chapters in a project. Notes are all note types in a project. Characters, same thing, all characters in a project. dossier, all dossier, etc., etc. These are all of that file type in a project. Now, typically, you'd only have one story Bible, but maybe you want a story Bible for all chapters. This is a great way to collate them for certain aspects of review. Story Bibles are really great for big picture editing help, so like making sure you have consistency. Sometimes the story Bible is better than chapters if you want to save on tokens for that. But you might only have one dossier, one world build. That's completely fine. The reason that these are here is because I have ADHD, and active documents is a great variable, but I have to remember that if I am on a editing prompt, that I might not want the same things turned on that I would have if I were writing. And I swap tasks in between. So for me, my workflow is I would do all of my pre-plan. Then I'm going to go in, I'm going to be drafting that chapter. I then go through and edit and add into that chapter before progressing to the next. So I'm swapping between planning and writing, and those tasks are very different for what you want toggled on. So I might want the story Bible, but not the dossier toggled on for editing tasks. So those types of things make this very helpful to be able to pinpoint just those things. It ignores the active documents unless you have that in the prompt as well, and it just pays attention to these. Similarly with like a dev edit or a beta read, you'd want all chapters, but you wouldn't want necessarily the dossier and additional context that might confuse the AI on what the reader would know just from reading the chapters versus what you as the author know. So that's really helpful. Again, right here is your categories, and then you can associate this prompt with as many categories as you want. If we were actually saving this, we would hit create prompt. If we decided we did not want to create this, we would hit cancel. Last step in the prompt area is your manage categories. So if I type in a category and select a color, if I hit create category, it will add here. If I hit close, it will not add the category. So I hit click category and it will add to this bottom, and then I can hit close. And now this is an available category for me if I'm editing or creating a prompt. I can now associate that. Really quickly, we'll go back to project because I promised to show you the toggles. These are toggles. These are going to be toggled off by default when you come in. But if we wanted ideas toggled on, and this was our final pitch, then I would turn this on, and then I would come here to use this pitch. So if we had that with this being active documents in a prompt, then we would then have this right here. And this is actually a really great time that we can show you. I can come up here and hit the plus. So this is the prompt doc. You get this. So if I close this really quick, if I hit prompts, this is your prompt doc. And if I hit plus, I can create a prompt from the project. So now we want this to be show variable helper, active documents. And this is fine. We're going to call this, let's see, what is this for? This is world building from pitch, which is actually a prompt already. But I'm just going to say pitch world build just for the purpose of our prompt here. And then I'm going to say that this is brainstorm and create prompt. And so now if I go to brainstorm, this is right here. If I'm in the classic view, remember if I'm in classic and I click this, it shows me a preview of the actual text that will be sent. It will show the actual prompt, and then it will show what that includes. So this is my toggled on item. So this is what is sending through as my final pitch. So if I click here and I go ahead and execute this, which we will, this is on free. Okay. So I'm going to do that really quick. It will now pull the information from that toggled on window, and it will fill out those and answer those questions. I can also hit stop if I don't want this to continue. Approve puts this in and makes it pretty and gets rid of the highlight. Reject removes it from your document. And if we come back here, we can go back to prompts. And then the quick mode, if I click this, it runs. Okay, so that's the toggle, and you can just toggle on or toggle off. Coming back to settings, let's go into themes. Here it's your theme builder. So these are the default themes that you get with Paging Polly right now. We're on Raven Whispers, which is my personal favorite. You can change that theme from up here in the corner. So this is the default, which is blinding after being on Raven. Here's the default dark mode, forest green, dark witch, pink dark, Raven Whispers. You can tell I like dark mode. And then witchy books. So if we're going to create a new theme together, but first we're going to go over import theme. This is going to be a JSON file. Export all exports all themes. Export one, you can just do the export button below here. So this is export, this is edit, this is duplicate, this is delete. If we go edit, this is the same thing that's going to pop up when we do cancel create theme. So we'll go create theme. So actually I'm going to show you an alternative way to upload stuff to your media if you have a bunch of files, because that's helpful. So if we come back to our back end settings, which again you can get to from your settings page. Okay, here, hold on. Cancel. You can get to that right here. We'll go themes, create themes. Actually, I'm not going to put in the title because I'm going to have to refresh this maybe. Okay. So if you come back here, you go to media and add media file. You can drag and drop files. I'm going to add this to our custom browser, but right now we don't have that. In the custom browser, that will probably be an update that is coming very shortly, because I definitely like to drag and drop over doing one at a time. All right. So we now have a couple different patterns uploaded. So if I come back here, let's find out together. If I hit enable pattern and browse media, perfect. It uploads, it updates live, which is great. I wasn't sure if I was going to do that, to be honest. You know what? We're going to do Cozy Fall instead, because some of the ones that I just uploaded are too big. Okay, so we're going to do Cozy Fall. We're going to go to background. So we're going to pick some fall colors really quickly. Do we want this light mode or dark mode? We'll do light mode. I'm going to control this. And this is why there's a preview. I'm a very visual person, so I know for me, I want that to be showing, because otherwise I would be completely lost on what this is going to look like. So let's actually go a little bit darker. There we go. That's kind of fun. Okay. Text secondary, let's make that a little bit darker. Border, let's pop to maybe, yeah. And this is basically how I do all of these, is I just go through this little slider and I'm just going to have some fun with grabbing some colors. I'm probably not going to pay too close of attention to that. What else is fall? Maybe kind of a brown. There. Perfect. So now I know the selected text needs to be adjusted. So I'm actually going to do kind of a rust/brown. I think that looks nice. We can use the selection text on white still. Button text on white also looks good. If I had these as light, like if I was doing like a full pastel, I would do the button text to be black instead. But for what we're doing, that near white looks perfectly fine. I don't actually change the success warning or error colors very often. Those are pretty standby and those work pretty well with dark or light mode, but you could always tweak that if you're finding that maybe you have a dark mode or a light mode that these aren't bright enough or dark enough for. You can definitely come in here and alter that. Also, there is a couple different blend modes. Depending on the color, these are going to show up better or worse, right? So color burn, you're going to have the opacity pretty much all the way cranked up. Color dodge would be essentially the same thing. So if you just want kind of like a highlight there, you can do that. Screen also going to be something that you're going to want on almost all the way opacity, but you can see that that actually goes over the text and you don't really want that. So keep that in mind with the different modes. and then multiply. It's going to darken. Overlay, you can see just like a little hint, and then normal, which is what I have on most of ours, so that you actually get the true colors essentially of the pattern. We're gonna go ahead and create theme, and it will auto apply that theme. Go back to project, and you will see the two areas that the pattern shows up is the header and then this background here. And now you could play with this and make your changes. So maybe like the surface color isn't quite right, or you want to change the main background color. That would be very easy to do. You would just go back in and you can test all of the highlights, etc. So you would just go back into settings, go back to theme, and then you could edit this. So maybe the surface, I actually really like the surface being kind of like a very different color than the background, but maybe you don't. So maybe you want to bring the background. I lost my window. Maybe we want the background to be a little bit more corally. Like so. So then we can just go ahead and save change. And it has changed this to be a little bit more coral. So it's a little bit less of a drastic shift over. Okay, and that's your themes. And then very lastly, we have generation logs. So generation logs, you have total generations, input tokens, output tokens, total cost, and average time. This is mainly here for two reasons. One is to help me debug problems that you're having with a prompt, and two is for cost estimates. So this is coming very shortly where the cost of the project will show on this card on the main page. So that's coming very shortly, and this helps us do that. You can see the total cost that you've spent overall in Paging Polly here, and you can also see the cost of each generation. Obviously, these are all zeros because we're only using free models. This also allows you to come in and say you rejected something. If you rejected it and it didn't end up obviously in your document because it was rejected, then you could come back here. You can see this is your system prompt. This is the user prompt. So that would be the main prompt that you sent. This is how it was sent, which is the JSON. And then in response, this was the response. So I could come here and I could copy all of this, Control C or Command C, and then I could paste that into a document, and then that is not lost. So that's another reason that I really like this. And you can see the raw template. So this has the variable. You can see the resolved prompt. So this shows that this was what actually sent. If you're wondering what these little icons, or not icons, but the little codes are, this shows that this was a list and paragraph. It's just HTML, and it doesn't mess with the AI, so it is not stripped from the prompt. If it messed with AI's response, I would strip it, but it doesn't, so he's in there. Okay. And that's basically this. Oh, and then really quick, the output tokens I have seen is exactly matching OpenRouter. The input tokens do not necessarily match exactly with OpenRouter. So if I come over to OpenRouter and I go to activity, and I go to activity again, because it doesn't go the first time. Okay, so this shows 1032. So if I'm over here, oh, I lost my page. 1032. Oh, interesting. This is actually the first time that the output hasn't been the same. So that one's interesting. I wonder if it's that particular model. Typically the output is dead on. But this one says input was 840, output was 1032. Might be because this was stopped. So it might have stopped at a different level. But you could just come in, you can edit these. So this was 840, this was 1032, and then you can hit save. It doesn't look like it saved, but if you close, it did. That's another little glitch that I have to update, is that it doesn't update in the middle. It does update in the back end. And that allows you to make sure that your total cost that is showing is exactly the same as what you're getting in OpenRouter. And those are your settings pages. And then you can hit back to project at any time to go back into your project. All right, we'll see you in the next one.